Okay, today we have been talking about circles, and we are going to talk through some of the circle basics. And it's mainly vocabulary. It just gives you a good foundation for what we're going to keep doing for the rest of the 6 weeks and maybe even a little bit longer. Okay, so the first thing that we're looking at when we've got circle basics is what is a circle? Okay, and a circle is made up of all of the points that are equidistant from the center. Okay, so all the points that are equidistant from the center. Now what we're looking at is the center point is the start of all of our circle and what we're going to look at with our circle. So this J is our center. That's our first thing. So when we name a circle, we are going to use the center to name the circle. So we're going to say circle, and we're going to say circle J. Now, if we just put J, if you'll remember, we could say that J is just a point. So we want to make sure that we specify circle J. Okay, now moving forward, I'm going to talk through diameter next. And most of you are pretty familiar with diameter. Okay, remember that diameter is a segment because it has a specific length. Okay, a segment that goes through the center. It has to go through point J with both endpoints on the circle. Okay, so if we look at the diameter, and we are looking for 2 points on the circle that go through the center. Okay, if you look, we have AC, which is 2 points on the circle, but it does not go through that center point J, so it cannot be our diameter. So the only segment that can be our diameter is from point G to point D. Okay, now remember, if we name a segment, that we have to use that line across the top that has no arrows. Okay, so next we are going to look at radius. Okay, remember D here we have with a lowercase d to represent. I'm going to go ahead and highlight on our picture here that GD was our diameter. Okay, now our radius has a similar piece that we use with a radius from diameter. Okay, the radius is in relationship to our diameter right up here. The radius is a segment with one endpoint at the center and one endpoint on the circle. Now we have a couple different radii in this picture, but we need to start at the center no matter what. So the center is J, and then we're going to a point that's on the circle. So we could go from J to F, and that would be 1 radius. Okay, we also have from J to D, and we have from J to G that is also drawn in. Now, we could have some other radii in this picture that they didn't draw in. One of those would be from J to X down here. Now, if you'll remember, okay, your radius is halfway across the circle. So our radius would equal our diameter divided by 2 if we were needing to find the radius. Okay, so we're going to do our radius in a second color. I'm going to use orange. Okay, and I'm just going to highlight one of our radii on our picture. Okay, so from J to F is a radius. Okay, now just like R equals D divided by 2, we could have the diameter equal something in terms of the radius. And so to get rid of this 2 in the denominator, we would have to multiply times 2. So the diameter would equal 2 times the radius. Okay, now I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but let's talk about a chord. Okay, a chord is also a segment. Okay, and a chord is a segment that has both endpoints on the circle. Okay, but this doesn't specify that we have to have it go through the center. So a chord can be anywhere on your circle. Okay, now the diameter would be your longest chord because it does have 2 endpoints on the circle. It goes all the way across. Okay, So when we name a chord, it is still a segment, and we are going to want to name it with 2 capital letters. So our chord, besides the diameter, would be from A to C. Okay, now we could have the diameter, so we're going to go ahead and write that down. Okay, and you could have from any 2 points along your circle. Like we could have from X to G also. Okay, so your chord goes from one point to another point, and it's a measurable distance. Okay, so diameter, radius, and a chord can all be measured. And so that's our chord. Now, right underneath chord is our tangent. Now, we've heard tangent before when we did trig ratios, and we're going to talk about tangent lines a little bit more in their relationship and why they come up in trig ratios and all of that stuff a little later. Okay, so a tangent is a line, a segment, or a ray that intersects the circle at exactly 1 point. Okay, that means that it only touches the circle one place. Okay, that place is called a point of tangency. Okay, if you look at our picture, we see that we have one line that touches the circle at exactly one place right here. So that line would be X to M. Now, I'm saying line because if you notice in our picture here, okay, X, M are on a line that has 2 arrows. And so we are going to say line XM with arrows on top. Okay, now our point of tangency over here on this picture would be where it hits the circle, which would be point X. So this would be our point of tangency. Okay, so in our 4th color here, I'm going to use green. We've got a tangent line. Okay, and we are going to highlight that whole line, okay, that whole distance. Okay, now our last piece is called a secant. Okay, and a secant is always a line. Okay, a secant is always a line. Let's see if we can get this to focus a little better here. Okay. We are having some trouble focusing. Okay, so our secant is a line that intersects a circle at 2 points. Now, if you'll remember, we also had a chord which intersected at 2 points, but it wasn't a line, it was a segment. So on our picture here, we like to say that a secant is kind of just an extended chord. Okay, so we're still going to say that we have AC, but instead of just a segment, we're going to have arrows on both ends of our secant. So I'm going to use this last color for our secant line. And because it's a line, we're going to go from this arrow all the way to this arrow. Okay, so this would be our secant. I just realized that I forgot to write tangent down here, so this is our tangent line. So those are our basic vocabulary for circles. We're going to continue to use this all the way through our circles unit. Okay, I'm going to keep using this, so there you go.